Good evening and welcome to Feed Yourself Well. Today's recipe is all about vegetables. We're winding down summer and we're going to do some simple vegetarian or vegan dishes that you can do at home. We're going to kick it off with our sweet potato, carrot, and kale hash. That's going to be paired with a delicious cauliflower steak that we're going to blacken. So to start off, I've gone ahead and I've got about a cup and a half of sweet potato that's been diced here. So that's going to go in to our hash dish, and we're going to start with that first. I've got some carrots that I broke down. I'm trying to use up produce that I have already on hand so I can move some of that stuff out before I refill it with some new produce. Half a red onion, diced. One small green bell pepper, diced. I've got some garlic that's been thinly sliced there. So I'm going to add that to it as well. And I've got some kale leaves that I'm just keeping under a moist napkin so they don't dry out. And we're going to add that at the very, very end. So let's head over and we'll start sweating our vegetables. And then we're going to get everything into the oven. Okay, so I've got a skillet here on medium-high heat. I'm just going to add a little drizzle of vegetable oil to the bottom. And I'm going to start sauteing the onions and our bell pepper. Okay, so we got those in. I'm just going to give them a stir around. Now, we're only going to season this dish very lightly because our steak, our cauliflower steak, is going to have all that nice blackening seasoning on it. So they're going to pair together nicely. I don't want two dishes that are heavily seasoned. I want one kind of mild and neutral to play off the heavily seasoned one. All right, so to this we're going to add in our carrots. Our sweet potatoes, and I just want to toss them all together. We're really going to let these roast in the oven, so we're just sweating them out first with a little stovetop cooking. Let's add some salt. That's going to pull some of the moisture out of the vegetables. And a few turns of pepper. Starting to smell good. Those aromatics are waking up. And the last thing I'm going to add is the garlic. That going. Let's get the garlic in. This is really going to be a bed of vegetables that the cauliflower steak is going to sit on. So I'm going to put this in the oven. I preheated the oven to 350 degrees and I'm just going to let them open roast for about 30 minutes or so. So they're nice and fork tender. You want to make sure the carrots and the sweet potatoes primarily are nice and tender. So I'm going to get this in the oven and we'll be right back. Okay, so we've got this huge head of cauliflower. Beautiful. Got it from the market this morning. I bought two. I know I'm going to use this in some other recipes. But for today's dish, I took one of them, I cut it in half, and then I cut a couple of about 1-inch thick slices out of it. So you want the nice center cuts, like this. Can you see that? These are nice center cuts, and they're still attached to the core. So this will have some superficial leaves around it. You can pluck all those off, but make sure the core stays intact because it's going to hold the florets to the base. If you cut too deep into that, they're going to fall off and you won't have these nice big steaks, but you want to go about an inch thick on the steaks. Now to season them, the first thing I'm going to do, I just have a little bit of olive oil that I'm going to brush over each side. And then we're going to coat it with blackening spice. Now I'm using the Paul Prud'homme's blackening seasoning blend. It's a pretty good one. It's versatile. You can use it on a variety of things. It's going to really complement the cauliflower. Cauliflower is a sponge and it'll take on just about whatever flavor you do to it. So the blackening spices are really going to give this cauliflower, which is very basic, some nice dimension. Okay, and I've got the spice blend right here. I'm just going to take cauliflower steak, down on one side, tap, down on the other side, tap. I want to make sure I get a nice amount of spice on there, on each side. And then I'm going to repeat the other steak, right into the spices. Nice. It's going to coat it really well. And then we're going to brown them off in a nice hot skillet again and finish them in the same oven right along with the hash. So let's get these in the pan. All right, so I got a nice hot pan waiting for me. I'm going to add a little bit of oil to it. And this is going to sear quick. Let me go right in with one. And right in with the other. And I just want to let them lay down nice and flat for about a minute or two on each side. It doesn't take very long. Make sure we got some nice contact going. It smells good. That's a good sign. I'm just going to rotate the pan around a little bit just to get the oil moving. We'll let that go for about a minute and we're going to flip them. Let's grab some tongs. All right, it's time to flip these guys over. It's picked up some nice char. Looking good. I'm going to flip them over on both sides. Cooking nice, and then we're going to go right into that 350-degree oven and let these finish while our hash is doing its thing. Once the hash is good and hot and steamy and it's started to cook, and those carrots and sweet potatoes are fork tender, we're going to stir in the kale. So the hash has just come out of the oven. It's been in for about 20 minutes, and I'm just going to top with kale. And I'm going to fold that in while the hash is nice and hot, and it's going to wilt the kale down. That's all I want to do with the kale. I really don't want it to cook under high heat. I just want it to wilt in to the dish. If you can see how fast that's happening, because it's nice and hot, it's going to stay vibrant green that way, and it'll be nice and textural, give a nice texture to the dish. So the hash is looking spot on. I'm going to sit this to the side and we're going to check the cauliflower steaks and see how that are, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I tinted the cauliflower steaks with a piece of foil while they were in the oven. They're done, looking great. They got that nice blackened crust on top. They're nice and tender in the center. That's exactly what we're looking for, a nice tender core. So we're going to head back over and plate everything up, and this is going to be dinner. Okay, so we've got everything done. The blackened cauliflower steaks are looking amazing, and the carrot and sweet potato kale hash looks good too. And I went ahead and made a little red pepper puree. I roasted some red peppers, peeled them, seed them, added them to a food processor with a little bit of salt and a little bit of olive oil. Just gave them a quick blitz so it would be nice and pureed. And I'm going to start with some of that right in the bottom of the plate because that's going to add a layer of flavor for us. Okay, and then I'm going to go right in with the hash just to the side of that. That looks great. Smells good too. Just a little more of that. And let's grab one of these nice looking steaks out. Cauliflower steaks. I'm just going to lay that across. And we're going to take a little more of our roasted red pepper puree just over the top a little bit. So we want some of that flavor on the cauliflower as well. And then we'll hit it. These are just chives, just some chives that I chopped up to finish our dish with. So there we have our vegan cauliflower steak that's been blackened and our sweet potato, carrot, and kale hash all done. This is tonight's dinner. Remember, always, always, always feed yourself well, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Have a great weekend.